What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Context and Application. And today I wanted to touch on my training just to kind of go over some things that have kind of changed and evolved with my training here recently. So, the main thing is I wanted to let you guys know that I've gone from a 4-day training split to a now 6-day training split. And for those of you who know me pretty well and have followed me for quite some time, you've probably never ever have seen me do a 6-day split. The last time I've done a 6-day split was back in the early 90s when I was like in my early 20s. Since then, it's been anywhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 days per week in regards to my training frequency. Um, so going to a 6-day training split is definitely out of my comfort zone. The reason behind that is, you might be assuming, maybe he's trying to do more volume, maybe he's trying to overreach with volume, because, we know that volume is a key component to progressing our physique as far as, getting bigger. But really, it's more so about trying to improve my efficiency, my quality, the performance, and the recovery aspect of it. Not to mention, I'm looking for a way to, re-energize myself, motivate myself, and to bring the wow factor, not the wow factor, but the fun factor back with my training. You can imagine, with 32 years of training under my belt, sometimes things get a little stagnant as far as motivation and as far as the fun factor, because things become more predictable. When you've got the experience that I have, it's yeah, things are just more predictable. So I would just say if you're younger, um, really embrace the chase, like as far as like trying to improve yourself, trying to get bigger, more muscle, stronger. Because I know, as a younger bodybuilder, I remember back in the day that I was so eager for progress and impatient. um, you get easily frustrated, and it would just be like, just that sense of urgency was constantly there, that it almost kind of blinded or obscured the fun that I was having. So I just would say, like, really embrace that chase. Sometimes the not knowing too. That's what makes things exciting. The not knowing, because believe me, when you get to where I'm at now, 30, 32 years later, because of the predictability, you lose some of that fun. Basically, yeah, the fun. Now, there was some things I was experiencing with the 4-day split that just wasn't working too well. And traditionally, 4-day splits have worked extremely well for me, whether it would be, an off season or a contest prep. Training 4 days, getting in good work, and then having those 3 rest days was a nice balance and blend. Like, I felt like I can perform well in the days I'm in the gym because I'm, well rested. I'm energized, from the rest days. So I get in there, do some good work. Then I knew in the back of my mind, okay, I have these 3 days. So if I overreach a little bit with my training, like, I'm one to kind of, push my RPEs, closer to like the nines most of the time. That I knew, like, okay, if my intensity's up, I'm still gonna have that recovery to help me out. But as of late, probably the last month, what I've been experiencing, is, the performance aspect has still been pretty good. Like, I've been performing pretty well. It's more the recovery. And I don't think it's necessarily from, pushing my RPEs. I think it's more due to the fact that I've, for the most part, since June of 2016, I've been leaning down, trying to get into contest conditions. So I've been in a deficit for a good chunk of the time. So I think that's part of it. Another part is, my overall stress levels, like, life outside of the gym. Don't get me wrong, life is awesome. Like, I have a beautiful family, and that's awesome. I have an awesome job, coaching bodybuilders. I mean, I am not complaining whatsoever. But there's been some things outside the gym that has created a little bit of unwanted stress, and I think, whenever I'm feeling a little bit stressed to where I feel like I can handle things well. I think it does put a burden on my recovery. And also, I factor in that, my training age, 32 years of training. I think, it does create a little bit of recovery issue for me. Like when I do train, I do have like, little aches and pains in my shoulders. I have my left knee has been bothering me from squatting. Um, and I'm just like dealing with these little aching and nagging little pains. Um, and I think, so performance wise, I can do the work. I can do the work well, even though I am feeling these little bit of aches and pains. But it's usually the next day where those little aches and pains I'm feeling during the training session, they're really intensified the next day or two. So, my thought was, okay, how can I improve, my performance? How can I improve recovery? How can I improve, all these things that I kind of mentioned? And, maybe you're thinking like, well, why in the hell would you go from 4 days to now 6 days? You're increasing, your training frequency, which is true. I mean, I'm going to increase the training frequency, but what I'm going to be doing is reducing the volume within the sessions. So, in a sense, with the 4 day split, I was performing, let's say upper body, an average would be anywhere between 15 to 24 sets, depending on the number of exercises I was doing, but anywhere between 15 to 24, that was about average for me. Now, with the 6 day split, I'm chopping the exercises down, so I'm only going to be performing 2 to 3 exercises at most, which is going to reduce the amount of sets I'm doing, obviously. So the work, in a sense, is going to be cut down anywhere between 25 to 50% of the volume per session is being chopped down. So in theory, anyways, because I'm doing less work per session, it's not going to beat me up as much as I was doing in a session with the 4 day split. So the hopes is, the next day I'm not feeling the effects of all that volume that was done in one session. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to recover from it. And then I'm setting up the split in a way to where things don't overlap too much. So for example, if I'm training, let's say chest this day, then I'm not going to be hitting chest again for a few days later. So try not to put too much overlap in there so I can recover. So I get to train 6 days a week instead of 4. So that's got me excited. So, and I know like the more motivated you are and the more excited you are about your training, chances are when you are in the gym, you're probably going to perform a little bit better because you're not, in a sense, just going through the motions. And I feel like that's kind of where I've been, here recently with my trainings, kind of going through the motions. Not that I haven't been training hard, but maybe I can get a little bit more out of myself by just, having my motivation levels a little bit higher. And motivation, it definitely comes and goes. So, but I know what's more important than the motivation is the commitment. I've definitely been committed. That's why I've been training 32 years. You're not going to be highly motivated 32 years straight every single day. There's going to be highs and lows, but that commitment is what's kept me going. As far as longevity and the sustainability factor, I think what's more important when it comes to that than trying to be super optimal is making sure that you're having fun. So even if, let's say, you're doing something that maybe on paper, it's not optimal, but if it keeps you excited and you're having fun, and it keeps you going to the gym, that's just going to keep you going. That's what it's all about when it comes to longevity. You have to have fun. That's one key to it. And I think, that's what I definitely needed here, the last few weeks, because things were getting a little bit stagnant, and when you are, experiencing, aches, pains, stressors outside of the gym, and, you're in a caloric deficit, things get, a little bit dark. So I think, sometimes, change is good and it can kind of get things going again. So I'm really hoping that this will kind of deliver some good results, and at least for the time being, keep me in the gym, keep me working hard, keep pushing me to keep progressing, because even, you know, with 32 years under my belt, I don't want to be done. I want to keep going, and you know, I want to be that guy. You know, that's like basically, you know, got 40 years under his belt, 45 years under, 50 years of training under his belt, and still trying to progress. You know, maybe the progress stops at some point, but my desire to improve, I don't want that to stop, because basically once that stops, I think I would stop. So that's the thing I want to do, is keep loving what I'm doing, because that's what's key. So anyways, that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you on the next one.